Open this door. Are you crazy? They're probably saying that on the other side of this thick door, but I can't hear them. Honestly, I don't need their forgiveness. Facing the three confused people on the other side, I waved and smiled, saying, "Let's go. Wonder if you can make it back safely. Good luck." "Hi, I'm Karen. I'm 33 years old and work in an office. I've been married for just a year and have no kids yet. When I was single, I loved taking day trips by train on my days off. Friends would ask, 'Don't you get lonely traveling alone?' But I enjoyed moving at my own pace without a fixed schedule. Sure, there's a bit of loneliness, but the fun makes up for it. I have a favorite travel magazine and sometimes plan trips based on it. One day, I noticed something strange. Hey, isn't that the same guy I saw last week?" It seemed like a coincidence, but after the third time, I might have thought it was fate if I were romantic. Instead, I just felt a bit scared. But it turned out he felt the same. Sorry if I'm mistaken. But didn't we meet last week and the week before at completely different places?" He asked with a slightly scared look. "Wait, do you think I'm following you?" To clear up the misunderstanding, I showed him my travel magazine and said, "I'm just traveling based on this magazine." Surprised, he responded, "Me too," and opened the same magazine, smiling happily. That's how I met my husband, Ryan. He turned out to be a really interesting guy. Being cautious by nature, I always carry a lot of stuff, but he said, "I always travel light so I can move easily. Nowadays, with cashless payments, you hardly need cash. A mobile phone is enough," he laughed joyfully. Talking with someone with such different values was very stimulating. We hit it off, discussing our favorite travel destinations and exchanged contacts. Though we both liked solo trips, we started going out together more often. Surprisingly, it worked out great. I enjoyed making memories with someone else and found that local food tastes even better when shared. One day, after about 5 months, Ryan asked me to go out. I was happy and felt the same way. We decided to get married 5 months into our relationship. I thought our happy married life was just beginning, but my expectations quickly shattered because of Ryan's parents, Jacob and Susan. Their house is about a 20-minute drive from ours. They are still in their 40s, with Susan working part-time, and both of them are employed. Initially, they used to visit our house, but lately, we've managed to keep a reasonable distance. However, an incident happened that disrupted this balance. "Hey, Ryan, let's go here on our next day off," I suggested. "I agree, sounds good," he replied. Our tradition of taking many trips to tourist spots continued as usual. Minimalist Ryan recently reduced his belongings to just a mobile phone, even entrusting his wallet to me. "It feels so light. I don't look like someone who's about to go out at all, do I?" he said with a contented smile. I thought to myself, at least carry your own wallet, but it wasn't really a bother. It was an ordinary conversation, but that day was different. "Oh, by the way, Dad and Mom's wedding anniversary is coming up soon. How about we invite my parents on our next trip?" Ryan's sudden suggestion made me tense up. Of course, there was a reason for that, but I couldn't just say no, so I responded, "Yeah, that sounds good. We haven't seen Susan and Jacob recently anyway." Unaware of my slightly strained face, Ryan didn't notice a thing. The next day, they were really looking forward to it when I called. He told me, "I guess I have to give it my best shot," so I prepared myself. Honestly, I'm not comfortable around my parents-in-law. They're not bad people, we just don't fit well. I'm more reserved and don't like noisy places or people. Talking to high-energy people can be mentally exhausting for me. Speaking of my parents-in-law, they are incredibly cheerful. When I first met them, their exuberance overwhelmed me. "Nice to meet you, I'm Ryan's mom." "And I'm the dad," they announced loudly like comedians, making me stiffen up involuntarily. That time, the 4 of us, including Ryan and his parents, went out to eat, and they chose the restaurant. I wondered if it was their favorite place, but when we got there, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Meeting their son's girlfriend for the first time at such a casual place made me laugh. "We're so nervous today, we haven't eaten anything since morning," Susan said cheerfully to me. That's right. Plus, we have to get our money's worth," Jacob quickly added. Their loud voices made nearby tables laugh quietly. Embarrassed, I wanted to go home. Looking sideways, I thought Ryan must feel the same, but I was surprised to find he wasn't there. He had gone to get food. Not to be outdone, my parents-in-law also got up, piling their plates with food. Are they planning to hibernate after eating so much? I wondered, can I really become part of this family? I managed only a forced smile at their overwhelming presence. I barely ate that day, feeling nervous and uncertain about the future with Ryan. I was touched when they said at parting, "What a wonderful girlfriend Ryan has. He may be awkward, but please take care of Ryan from now on, Karen." I was simply happy to hear that. I loved him too, and I thought his parents weren't bad at heart. So when he proposed a few months later, I had no hesitation. But it turns out I'm not good at judging people. At our wedding, the groom's parents, my parents-in-law, completely ignored the ceremony and focused only on eating, leaving my own parents utterly disillusioned. Ryan has a brother, Peter, who seemed to be the only sensible one. I'm sorry my parents showed such an embarrassing side. It's really shameful. Peter came to greet us politely. As I heard from my parents, Peter, who lives alone, seems to have a strained relationship with his parents. It appears the feeling is mutual, as they once complained. That boy is always so noisy with his complaints. Just the other day, he bragged about buying several eggs when it was limited to one per person, and I scolded him for it. Seemingly annoyed, he replied, "Don't you feel guilty about benefiting yourself at the expense of others?" Hearing this story, I understood their strained relationship a bit more. I thought to myself, isn't that a fair point? What's wrong with that, Susan? I honestly felt that way. When the parents-in-law came to visit our new home, they arrived empty-handed, which wasn't a problem. But then they started rummaging through our shelves, exclaiming, "Isn't this the snack they're advertising on TV? I've been wanting to try it. Oh, and this one too." They went through my hidden snacks like they were on a treasure hunt, even though I bought those snacks. Ryan, without any malice, said, "If you want them, take them home." That's fine, right, Karen? I wanted to smack him right then and there. All I could do was respond with a forced smile. I had a suspicion, but it was clear now. The parents-in-law were moochers. I want this, I want that, give me, give me. In the early days of our marriage, they came over every week, sensing an opportunity, and I was almost driven to neurosis. Hey, don't you think there's something off about Susan and Jacob? They're kind of annoying. My anger exploded, and I ended up fighting with Ryan. Despite how angry I was, Ryan looked puzzled and said, "No, not really. Is it that strange? They've been like that since I was a kid. Don't worry about it," he said, patting my shoulder lightly, which made me furious. "Are you kidding me? If this keeps up, I'll divorce you. Just do whatever you want." My raised voice seemed to alarm Ryan, and he quickly put an end to his parents' invasions. I don't know what Ryan said to them, but since then we've been living peacefully. However, the thought of traveling with the parents-in-law naturally made me anxious. On the day of the trip, I was taken aback to see them waiting. "It's been a while. I heard you've been busy with work. Must be tough." Susan spoke to me, but I was far from calm. The reason lay in their appearance. Susan and Jacob, where's your luggage?" Looking closely, Susan and Jacob had brought nothing with them, even for a day trip. "Isn't it normal to bring at least a bag?" I asked. "We wanted to be ready to move quickly, and I have a sore shoulder," Susan replied, echoing something I'd heard before. It was baffling. The rest of the trip went as badly as I feared. It was soon revealed that the parents-in-law had forgotten their wallets. Feigning ignorance, they said, "That's strange, isn't it?" Watching them play dumb, I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe it was better to call off this trip or even cancel it. But unfortunately, my feelings weren't understood. Ryan, looking exasperated, said again, "My folks have always been like this. I'll cover for them, but make sure they pay me back." It seemed the trip would continue as the parents-in-law laughed and apologized. All I felt was disgusted. Even after we arrived at our destination, the parents-in-law's rudeness didn't stop. They complained to the store staff, "Isn't there any free tasting? Wow, stingy, huh? When I bought a drink because I was thirsty and hadn't even taken a sip yet, Susan said, "Can I have a sip of that? I'm thirsty too." I can't believe I forgot my wallet. While I forced a smile, Ryan, looking exasperated, intervened. "Stop it, it's embarrassing. Look, I'll buy you one." Overhearing this, Jacob muttered under his breath about me. What a stingy woman lacking compassion. I didn't miss his comment. I could say the same to you. I should have left at that point, but I was a bit stubborn. A similar incident happened twice more afterward. Apparently, the first trip was so enjoyable that Susan contacted Ryan for another. When I saw them on the station platform, I couldn't help but feel chills. The second time, they brought their wallets, but when the moment came, "Oh no, this is the wrong wallet." I rushed out in such a hurry, they said. Their obvious lie was something only Ryan would believe. On the third trip, they forgot their wallets again. By then, it was clear it was a deliberate act. "Susan, excuse me, but did you deliberately forget your wallet? You never intended to pay, did you?" I hit the nail on the head and her face turned red. "Hey, what a rude woman you are." "Apologize to Susan," Jacob glared at me, demanding an apology. "No way. I've thought this for a long time. Both of you are just too greedy." Caught in the argument with the parents-in-law, Ryan seemed at a loss. Tourists around us watched curiously. Noticing their gaze, Ryan seemed to feel ashamed and finally said, "Stop it, please," breaking down crying. I felt truly disillusioned, but the parents-in-law reacted differently. Rushing to a crying Ryan, Susan said, "I'm sorry, Ryan, it was my fault. You're so kind to cry for me," with Jacob quietly standing beside her. I didn't know how to react to this mess. Only one thought came to mind. "Yeah, this is impossible. Let's get a divorce." That was all I could think, seeing Ryan's tears. The parents-in-law seemed to lose their fight. "Karen, we know we're often in the wrong. It's Ryan's money, but still we've taken advantage of him. It's Ryan's money after all." I don't know why they said it twice, but their words, dripping with sarcasm, showed no real remorse. It was confirmed that they had deliberately forgotten their wallets. Susan called it Ryan's money, but we both work, and his salary is only slightly higher than mine. Our actual incomes are not much different. Recently, every trip with the parents-in-law ended with, "I want to buy this too. Maybe some gifts for the neighbors as well." "What's that?" "Looks tasty." "Hey, Ryan, buy that for me." Because of their endless demands, Ryan's credit card bills were shockingly high. We've been living mostly on my salary for the past few months. At the time of marriage, I considered it family money and believed in spending within the limits of our allowance for personal desires. Don't be a burden to your partner. The thing that infuriated me the most was when cashless reliant Ryan exclaimed at our travel destination, "What, only cashier?" He called me over, pulled his wallet out of my bag, and it only had a few dollars in coins. "No, I messed up. You know I don't carry cash, right?" he said without malice. It still makes me furious thinking about it. For the record, I always pay for my own things. Yet the parents-in-law probably thought I was living off Ryan's money and just complaining. We split living expenses, so such accusations were nothing but unpleasant. Thinking all this, I coldly watched Ryan crying and Jacob consoling him. After a moment of thought, I said, "I was wrong too. Sorry for being presumptuous. You guys go ahead on the train. I'll buy some drinks and follow." I smiled calmly, and Ryan and the parents-in-law happily boarded the train. Their smiles turned to panic a few minutes later when I didn't return. Ryan must have felt something was off as he messaged me, "Karen, are you coming? The train is about to leave." Right then, the heavy doors slowly closed from the platform. I had a clear view of Ryan's panicked face. He seemed to notice me and was shouting something. I replied to his earlier message, "I'm divorcing you. If your parents are so important, live happily with them. Goodbye." I ignored his calls, thinking, doesn't he care about being a nuisance on the train? He sent several messages afterward, but I ignored them all. Ryan's face through the door slowly turned to anger. "Hey, open this door. Are you crazy? I won't forgive you," he shouted as if I needed his permission. The parents-in-law seemed to be yelling too, but I couldn't hear them. Smiling at the three fools, I said, "Let's go. Wonder if you'll make it back safely. Good luck." The train quietly departed, quickly disappearing from sight. That train won't stop for a while. Walking back would be quite a challenge. After watching the train leave, I hurried home to pack my bags and left. I stayed with a friend I've been discussing divorce with. Ryan's barrage of messages continued until they suddenly stopped. His phone must have died. He often forgot to charge it before bed, and it was only at 30% this morning. Portable battery chargers are essential, was Ryan's mantra, but his crucial portable battery charger was in my bag along with his wallet. I left all the belongings he entrusted to me at home. He must be panicking by now, but that's not my concern. While planning my next steps with my friend, my mobile phone rang. The caller was unexpected. Peter, Ryan's brother. "Karen, I'm sorry. Did something happen?" According to Peter, Ryan's phone had run out of battery, and in his panic, he dropped it, shattering the screen. Unable to reach me, the desperate parents-in-law could only think of one person to call, so I got contacted. But all I asked was, "Karen, why?" Peter seemed unwilling to say more. I told Peter everything about Ryan and the parents-in-law without holding back. As I spoke, I could hear Peter's voice getting sharper over the phone. From the other end, the in-laws were loudly insisting, "Peter, tell her off." They believed Peter, with his way with words, would outtalk me. After I finished explaining, Peter snapped, "Hey, you scoundrel. Are you stupid? What you did was wrong." I had heard from Susan that when Peter gets really angry, he becomes intimidating with a high-handed tone. And since Peter only speaks sense, Ryan and the parents-in-law can't retort when he gets like that. I could hear the in-laws arguing in the background, but I quietly hung up the phone. Ryan was not happy about the divorce, but after I conveyed through a lawyer that I wanted to end things without any further contact, he reluctantly agreed, with Peter's help. Later, Peter told me that the parents-in-law had always been disliked by neighbors and even school associates. When Ryan returned to his parents' house, he quickly became the talk of the neighborhood, and now all three hardly ever go out. Ryan's colleagues, unsure how to handle a quick divorce, treated him like a delicate subject. I'm glad to have cut ties with them after this incident. Peter told me with a laugh that the parents-in-law were known at the local supermarket for their outrageous behavior, like demanding discounts on soon-to-expire items or trying to get damaged goods for free. Peter expressed his long-standing embarrassment and disdain for his parents' behavior. Recently, Ryan has been seen joining them, showing their shared tendencies. It turned out the parents-in-law were both gambling addicts, often skimping on food expenses, which explained their constant hunger and lack of money. When asked about the reason for my divorce, I can only say it was a difference in values. If anyone can tolerate such behavior, they must be incredibly broad-minded. It was just too much for me. I've continued working and even started a side job as a web writer after my travel blog caught a publisher's attention. I still travel, combining it with writing assignments. Solo travel seems to suit me best. Last month, I earned a decent income from writing, so I'm planning to take a vacation to a resort somewhere far for relaxation. I'm still only 33 years old. Life is just beginning.